Hello class, welcome to Flip Classroom comparing the English, French, and Spanish conquest of the New World with your host. I'm Mr. Martyr, and alongside me is Mr. Walter.
Hey class, how's it going?
Alright guys, take out your graphic organizers and you want to fill in this chart as Mr. Walter and I go through the material here today.
We'll be comparing Spain, Britain, and France and their colonies that they set up in the New World. And you can see some of the categories we have on the left. We're looking at their goals, their government, the religion, how they approach the concept of slavery, and their interactions with the Native Americans.
Alrighty, Spanish goals. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the big idea here is remember the three G's, God, Gold, and Glory? Well, the Spaniards wanted to expand Christianity, and they also wanted to gain land and riches. Right? Great Britain, guys, they were also interested in commercial ventures in the center part of North America. Think Jamestown, okay, the cash crop there was tobacco. Also, a huge group that left Great Britain were the Pilgrims, okay? Them and other religious groups left because of for persecution reasons. And then we have the French. They were interested in the northern part of North America, where Canada is. They were interested in fishing, fur trapping, and they also wanted to expand Christianity.
Now let's look at the government of the three colonies. In Spain, the king had strict control through a council of the Indies and a viceroy. And a viceroy was a vocabulary word that you had earlier, which was the king's representative. In Great Britain, for a long time, the British colonies were overseen by royal governors, and for a very long time, colonists enjoyed a large degree of freedom and self-government, which helped spur on the American Revolution. And in France, at first the king had paid little attention to governing his newly acquired territory, but later the king exercised strict control over justice and the economy.
Alrighty, what's the dominant religion of the Spaniards, Mr. Walter?
The Catholic Church.
Alrighty, the Catholic Church, ladies and gentlemen, influenced colonial governments. They also sent missionaries over to convert people to Christianity. Great Britain. Okay. Great Britain really used North America as a safe haven for people seeking religious persecution. Keep thinking the Pilgrims. Alright, and the French, they also sent missionaries over to convert people to Christianity. However, they prohibited the involvement of Protestants, so only Catholics were allowed to come over at first.
Now, slavery, all three European powers had a similar approach to slavery. The Spanish first used Native Americans, and then they switched over to African slaves. In terms of Great Britain, they started with African slaves, especially the southern plantations, where cotton and tobacco grew really well. That's where the British colonists are going to use a lot of slaves. And in France, they brought a lot of slaves to Caribbean colonies that had belonged to the French. So although not in the North America, a lot of slaves weren't brought there for the French, but in the Caribbean, that's where the French primarily brought most of their slaves.
Alright, now we're going to take a look at how these powers interacted with the Native Americans. Well, very simply, the Spaniards came over, they conquered and destroyed the Native American population and their way of life. Great Britain originally had a much more lenient attitude than the Spaniards towards the Native Americans, but eventually that process began to become a little bit more hostile, a little bit more violent. And then finally, the French, they actually enjoyed a very successful relationship, fur trading with the Indians, and Native Americans were allowed to marry French women. Right. So this, guys, is kind of an overview of the three big powers in North America and how they interacted with
The Native Americans.
with the land there. So take a look at this chart. If we went too fast, you can replay the clip. And make sure you have this chart completed, and you can take the quiz that Mr. Walter and I have prepared for you via Edmodo. Good luck, guys.